3, 2, 1. Alright, guys, this is episode 28 of the Master of None podcast, titled Better Than Yesterday. And let's get right into it. I've had a pretty busy week, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of good stuff going on. So, this week, a lot of cool, interesting stuff to talk about. And let me start with chess. So, the first thing I want to talk about actually came from someone who listened to my podcast. So, shout out to James for listening and bringing up a really good point. He was telling me about how when they worked out, they would change strategy from far out from competition to very close to competition. Like, for example, let's take a fighter. Let's say you just finished a fight and your next fight's in about 8 months. So the first 2 to 3 months, what you're going to see a lot, or I think what a good strategy is working on your strength, working on lifting weights. And then as you get closer and closer to the fight, on top of lifting weights, you would do cardio. But for cardio, an example of far out versus close in is far out, you might do a lot of cardio, like 20 miles a day, 30 miles a day, whatever. But as you get closer in, now you're going to do more sprinting. So you build that cardio base, but in a fight, you're not going to do a lot of you're going to have to last a long time, but it's going to be way more sprinting, in a fight. So closer to the fight, you would probably do more sprints, more high intensity kind of training. But way back, you built that cardio base, so you can take these sprints better. So that's kind of the idea. And I think the best example in chess, and something that I'm actually working on right now, I have 2 tournaments coming up this upcoming weekend, and then the next weekend I'll be in New Jersey, and then I will be in Texas. And basically all of January, I grinded puzzles. I rarely worked on fundamentals. Even teaching, I've been really doing a lot of positional stuff, reading books. But now closer to the tournament, 1 week out, 2 weeks out, and even during the tournament, I'm going to do some puzzles, but I'm really, really going to focus on openings. This last month and a half, 2 months, I've really worked on, just building that almost cardio base, doing a lot of puzzles. And I can feel myself almost stronger. I put on mental muscle by just doing all these puzzles. So I have better reflexes, better timing, better calculation skills. Now, I could keep doing puzzles, but what's going to give me a better return, a more impactful return right now, is having very good opening preparation. Because I've already built that base of doing puzzles, playing blitz, playing games, reading, just having ideas, positional ideas. And as I get closer to tournament, I really just want to work on knowing my openings. And kind of what goes next to that with the next topic is opening exploration. There are so many things that you can play, so many openings. When I was young, I was very narrow. I would have one option here, one option there, and one option there. There was no flexibility. And as you get better, as you get older, as you get more experience, you can start choosing which opening to play based off your opponent, based off the style that he goes for, based off when does he do well, when does he do bad. I want to put him in those positions that he doesn't do as well in. So I'm fighting a tactician, a striker, someone with very crazy, kind of knockout, kind of checkmate you and move 20 kind of energy. Then I will play a more slow-paced opening. That way I can kind of wear him down, grind him down, and then later on, if he's weak in the end game, I can take him to an end game. So that is where this opening exploration and opening choice, I think, really makes a difference. And by focusing on it closer to tournaments, these openings are also going to be more fresh in my head. It's going to be more, okay, I just looked at that and I know exactly what to do. Whereas if I was training openings for the last month and a half, all right, so picking up where I left off, if you train openings a month and a half, then there's a good chance you forget it. Or it's just at least not fresh in your head. Because with openings, nuance is very, very important. So the basic level, you just know the ideas. But then if you really want to get advantage against international master, grandmaster, strong players, you really have to be accurate of when to do what. So yeah, that's openings. And just this whole idea of changing strategy far out versus close in. Another thing about chess that's happened this week is we had the first EAV chess club. And honestly, turnout was amazing. We had 40 people the first 2 hours. Kind of growth from there is we need to find something to do the second half of chess club. And the leading ideas are a blitz tournament or one rated game or just one tournament game. And then coming up with a leaderboard. So For every win, or for every time you play, you get a point. For every win, you get 3 points, and then just tracking everyone. And then a really, really cool idea would be to do this across several chess clubs and have a huge, huge leaderboard of who's participating the most, who's racking up these points, who's showing up, who's getting wins. So that's going to be growth for the chess club. If you're going to be wondering why I'm coughing, it's because I cooked pretty spicy food, and that is why I think I'm coughing. All right. Okay, the next thing for the chess club and kind of the growth model / idea is this month we're going to just do chess club every Wednesday, and then we're going to add the second half of chess club event, either the blitz tournament or game. And next month we're going to start doing weekend tournaments. So what I'm trying to do different, because I have had the opportunity to run / host a couple chess clubs and a couple tournaments, is I don't want to rush it. I'm trying to build an organic base. That way, if you have like 10-20 people who are going to show up every time, now you're going to have an even more successful event. Because if there's 10 to 20 people guaranteed, people will think it's worth their time to come. Because one, they're always going to have other people to go against. And two, whenever there's a lot of people, there's going to be more interaction. There's going to be more things to do. There's going to be more like random electrons colliding. And it's way better than having 2-3 people at a tournament and then just having to make do, or having one person be like, sorry, we don't have enough people, you got to go. So I'm really trying to grow this base organically before we start kind of scaling up to other stuff. So that's what I'm really excited about. And I mean, right now in Georgia, and I'm going to talk about this real soon, is there just isn't many tournaments. Like, my students are all working hard, but there's no tournaments. So I'm really trying to pioneer and be at the forefront of this. I mean, I don't want to call out the rest of Georgia, but like, what are y'all doing? Like, we got so many chess companies here. We got so many organizations doing chess, and you have the infrastructure to do it, you have the location to do it, and you ain't doing anything. Like, it's almost like they don't want people getting better at chess. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but like every school organization I've seen, every kid organization with chess, I'm not going to specifically call anyone out, but you never see them pushing tournaments. You never see them play, like pushing to play. And I think part of it is insecurity of, oh, if they go play, they're going to think that we're not good enough. They're going to go find better people. But really, that's what you want. Like, if you can get a celebrity, or I mean, not celebrity, but like one of the top kids to come out of your program, it speaks very highly of your program. So even if they go off somewhere else, you can still say they started here. And that deserves a lot of credit and a lot of like attention. Like, helping people get into chess is kind of the biggest barrier. And after that, if they get better, they get better. Like, that's good for you. That's good for everyone. That's good for the community. So I don't know why more big organizations do not push chess tournaments. I would really like to have this conversation with someone at some point. Okay. So I kind of talked about this a little bit before, but with upcoming tournaments and preparation, like I said, I have 2 tournaments coming up. One kind of minor, one very major, one very big one that I really, really want to make sure I do well in. So preparation-wise, like, what I'm going to do is try to prepare for every person before the tournament starts, make a spreadsheet, go through their games. I have a week to kind of do a lot for the first one, and then whatever time is going to go into the second one. I think about 2 to 3 days between tournaments, and since I've kind of already done this base, it's just openings and preparation. So you can do a lot with a couple hours. You can go through 20, 30 people. And I really do want to try to go through everyone, not just the 10, 15 Grandmasters, but just the whole field. I mean, it's growing your chess. It's studying chess. That's going to make you better. I think it's a good strategy, and it's really funny. Like, you don't see this happen a lot in the chess community. You see preparation when there's games 1 a day, or when it's only Grandmasters, or it's a closed tournament. But why not in any tournament? It's just a choice. It's just being like, okay, I'm gonna go prepare. Like, the names are here. That way, when the pairings come up, you're not mad dashing and looking through all the games. You have a spreadsheet. You have everything written down. And I think this is important too. And I saw this from preparing for fights. Like, if you don't write it down, and you don't have a very clear idea of what they play, and then you see their pairing, you can remember a little bit, but you can remember way more when you write it down, when you know exactly the points you hit. So that is why I think writing down information is very, 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 can't stress enough, very important. I don't have this photographic memory. I get my memory from just working hard and doing a bunch of stuff. So that is why I like to write things down a lot. I also have so many things on my mind. Like, just with all the different activities that I do, it's hard to keep, especially like little information like this, like remembering what the 2100 plays that I looked at a week ago. That's gonna get very lost in the files in my head. But if I write it down, if I'm pretty clear about it, then it's gonna be much easier. So really trying to just take the professional route to preparation and playing in tournaments and getting ready. I put this twice, so I'm not going to say it again. And then the last thing I want to talk about, at least chess for me, before I go to my students, is I'm going to at least be looking to start a podcast, another podcast, but this is we're going to call the Chess Player Podcast. And I'm going to do this with a friend of mine. We're going to try to have a guest every other week. I think we're going to do this about twice a month. And this is going to be specifically just talking about big topics at the high level of chess, at the not the tactics kind of basic opening level, but at like really trying to deep dive into certain topics like when do I offer draw, why should I offer draw, trading pieces, tournament situation, risk versus reward, like these kind of things. So that's another cool thing that I'm going to be doing, and I really hope to have the opportunity to talk to some high level grandmasters. That's what I really want to get out of this for sure. I want to talk to some national masters, some international masters, some friends of mine, some experts in other fields. But nothing would be greater than for me to be able to pick the brain of a high level chess player, someone who's kind of done my path, succeeded, and maybe even gone above and beyond that, gone from Grandmaster to 26 to even stronger than that. I mean, as someone that has been playing chess my whole life, I have so much respect for someone who has accomplished a goal that I have not. So talking to these people is how you get better, learning their strategies, learning what they did. So that is my big goal with this Chess Player Podcast, and really just trying to make it seem like, or just show the world that like chess can be a sport. At least you can think about it like a sport. Yes, it doesn't have the physical requirements of other sports like football, basketball, and all this stuff, but the mental game maybe is even more. Like, you never memorize the moves of a basketball player or the moves of every single of your opponents in a basketball game or a football game. Yeah, you definitely study, you watch tape, but to chess it gets much more specific. So that's what we'll be doing with the Chess Player Podcast. Next thing I want to go through is just students. Like, once again, working too hard. I actually had a student. It's a really nice story. Like, he's a friend of a friend, his parents, and they just wanted their kid to get into chess. And the first week or two was like just I was having this transformation of becoming a very serious coach. So I kind of took it easy on him, and then I kind of dropped I dropped the hammer at the same time for everyone, but he saw me drop the hammer, and I said, if you don't practice, I'm not teaching you. I think we skipped one lesson, or I had to cancel one lesson because he didn't practice. And ever since then, this kid's been putting in the work. He's really been grinding hard. Not even I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but when I tell my students they have to practice 3 times a week, he thought I said every day. So I was really impressed that he was practicing chess every day. And then I corrected him at some point, saying, hey, you only have to do 3 days, by the way. Could be a bad thing, but I think he's still been practicing. And so he's a new chess player, and his first maybe 3 tournaments, he lost every game. He lost. I mean, he's maybe 300-400, and he was losing to 900s, 800s, and he lost every game. But this past Friday, he played in the tournament, and the other thing he lost every game, but he was playing a lot of my students, which I hate. He did have one tournament where he played other people, and this tournament, this last Friday, he won all his games after losing the first maybe 6 or 7 of his previous tournaments. And then after the tournament, he was like, yeah, man, this tournament was too easy. I want to go back to playing the Tuesday tournaments that are way tougher. So it's a really cool thing, and you will see this with people, like when they practice, when they take their training seriously, they want to play people that are good. Like, when you know you're putting in the work, you want to play someone also putting in the work. Now, to balance this, I think he should play both the hard tournaments and the easy tournaments. The hard tournaments, he's not really going to lose rating because he's playing all good people, but he's going to get these looks. And then when he plays against the easy people or the easier people, it's going to seem like cake, like just super easy for him. So that's why I do recommend he stays with the Friday. I have to talk to him this week, but he stays with the Friday, but he can also play Tuesday. Clearly, it's at least helped a little bit. And now that he has confidence, I really want to see what he can do. So, I mean, it goes to show, like, when you work hard, like, the mindset that you have for the craft that you do is completely different. If you don't work hard, you want the easy way out. If you don't work hard, you'll take buys, you'll take draws in positions that you're better. But if you work hard and you know you work hard, you are going to hold yourself to a higher standard, which I think is super, super important. So if you find yourself like just coasting, just kind of going by, just trying to do it for the sake of doing it, you're not working hard enough. Because if you're working hard enough, you would respect your craft enough to want to challenge yourself, to want to push yourself. You wouldn't be looking for the easy way out, because you know, I've done the work, I trust myself, give me your best. And you always see this with the highest level of competitors. They never ask for the easy fights. Yeah, okay, sometimes they want money fights. Sometimes they want to make money, because money is just like the core. I mean, I don't want to like give money too much power, but I mean, it definitely is a very strong factor in your life. It gives you access to things you don't have access to, and if you don't have enough money, it brings about problems that you don't want to have to deal with. So you'll see with the highest level of competitors, yes, I mean, sometimes they take money fights, but for the most part, they want the person who everyone thinks can beat them. They want to push themselves. They want to challenge themselves. You see this with John Jones. You see this with Khabib. You see, actually, Floyd Mayweather is called Floyd Money Mayweather for a reason. He is mastered, and he is also making just so much money that you can't knock the guy. He beat the monsters when he was young. Yeah, he fought some people at not the most opportune time, but yeah, like Michael Jordan is maybe a better example. Like, he wasn't ducking anyone. He wasn't running from anyone. He wasn't like, oh yeah, give me the easy people. He would talk shit when he was down. That's how you know he was coming for you. So next, so sticking to what you say, and fortunately I haven't had to do this, and I think it's because my students know, like, when I say, hey, if you don't do the work, I'm just gonna walk. I'm gonna come here and leave, or I'm not even gonna come, because I can see whether you did the work or not. So when people know that you mean what you say, they will respect what you ask them to do, because they know if they don't do this, this is gonna happen. And on the flip side, like, I was bad at this for a long time. I would say I'm gonna punish you, and I wouldn't punish them. And when that happens, especially after the first, second, third time, they don't care. They know you're not gonna do anything, so they're just gonna keep doing what they do. Which is why sticking to what you say, meaning what you say, and also being fair. I don't ask students to put in 3 hours a day, 3 times a week. Right now, I'm starting off easy. 30 minutes to an hour a day, 3 times a week. As students get more and more serious, I 100% plan to ramp this up, or encourage them to ramp it up. And as they get a couple of weeks of consistency down, you will see that they will be more than happy to ramp it up, because they know when you put in the work, you see for yourself that, wow, if I work hard, I get results. If I work harder, I get more results. So it's another very, I think, just good life example of learning, like, sticking to what you say versus not sticking to what you say. Now, the last two things I want to talk about for my students is, for me, and once again, just the irony, I'm sitting in a hoodie at home, but I have been dressing well for my students, and definitely can see students take it more seriously. Now, what I need to conquer is Sunday and Saturday morning. Like Sunday and Saturday morning, I do not have my camera on while I am teaching lessons. I am 30 minutes of I just woke up. So it's something that I need to get better on, and it's something that I definitely want to work on, just waking up early in the morning. The problem is I'm just so good at staying up late at night that waking up early in the morning makes that difficult. So just increasing that standard, being better than last week. This week I really want to push to be perfect in that regard. And now I want to talk about growing these lessons. So, like, now that I've gotten these guys to work hard, like, that part is done. I don't want to just rest on my laurels and just be like, okay, I got them to work hard, they're going to get results. No, now I really want to step up to hitting the other things that I've kind of had to sacrifice in this, like, analysis and middle game kind of approach. Like, what I do is, since they play 9 games a week, I'll look at the games, we'll analyze the games, And the problem there is it takes about 30 minutes to 40 minutes to go through all the games. And what is even worse is when I have, for example, I have a brother and a sister, and I look at the brother's game for 30 minutes and look at the sister's game for 30 minutes. And it's great. Like, they get a lot of good stuff from looking over the games, but I'm not hitting certain things like openings. And for my kind of lower level students, just drilling and establishing a baseline. So and I think I talked about this a bit last week and how I'm going to make a big change or try to incorporate this, and that is like my task for tonight. By the time I wake up tomorrow or teach tomorrow, I have to have this down. How am I going to enforce openings? That's going to be through tests, quizzes, and material, YouTube videos. But it's not about just making the material. It's about finding it organized in a clear and concise way where students can follow this. Because the material is there, but I have to put it into a curriculum. And the way I mean, it's really not a super hard thing, but it's a conscious thing. I have to say, okay, this is step A, this is step B, this is step C. Student, you do step A, then you do student, then you do step B, then you do step C. And just putting it all together, making it organized, giving it structure. So that's the thing for opening, which I talk about a bit last week. Now drilling. So drilling, especially for the newer students, there's not a lot of terminology, but there's definitely some terminology that I need these guys to just have down, or these principles that I need these guys to have down. Like, what's the first thing you do every move? What's the last thing you do every move? What do you do in the middle? In endgames, you want to do this, this, and this. And when you have a winning position, you want to do this, this, and this. When you have a losing position, you want to do this, this, and this. So that and drilling. So for example, drilling, line of fire, which is basically pins, discoveries. I'm going to basically have these guys, and I think this week this is going to be the big thing. I'm going to work on drilling. You need to be able to do 30 puzzles in 3 minutes for like 3 different categories. For offense, for defense, for line of fire, for in-between moves, for weaknesses. So this week is really going to be drilling week to build these foundations and make sure they know it. If they know the foundations, then I don't have to worry about saying the same thing again and again. It's been trained to them. So just having this structure, not just for training and for being accountable, but now for actually getting better, for doing openings, for knowing middle game strategy. So that is going to be the big thing for this week to teach my students, or just to make sure that we have done this and we are on the same page, and I trust you to be able to do this in the situation. So that is kind of it for students. Definitely a lot of fun stuff though. Like, it's been really cool the last couple of weeks just seeing the growth in this, and I don't want to stop. And that kind of goes to the title of the podcast, just better than yesterday. That's the goal. Okay, so next thing I'm going to talk about is stand-up. So stand-up, so this is kind of how stand-up comedy has been. The first couple months, let me break it down even. The first maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's good because it's new. So you're just having a lot of fun up there. So everything you do is going to be a lot of fun. So then you get into this lull of, okay, it's not new anymore, so now I'm bad. So people have different kind of pathways and journeys in their respective field. But for me, and I think for a lot of people, at least the majority, it goes from, okay, first couple of weeks are fun, they're good, like you're getting laughs just because people can tell it's new and you're having fun. But then you get this like, okay, wait, am I even good? Like, why am I doing this? And then that I've kind of gotten through, and now I'm not going to say I'm pretty good yet. I'm not, no way I'm pretty good. But that is the goal, to go from okay to pretty good. And now it's time to really dissect the little things. Dissect, like, okay, how do I become as efficient as possible? And this is a very chess mindset kind of thing. It's like kind of the similar beginning. In the beginning, it's really fun. You get to a certain rating just based off how much you've done. But now you hit your first obstacle, and now you have to overcome it. And that is where, like, doing puzzles every day, learning openings, maybe getting a coach, thinking about, okay, why am I losing? What is hurting me? And that's kind of what I'm doing with stand-up. So the first thing I want to talk about is cutting out filler. Like, and this is why recording the sets I think are great, because I get to rewatch them and I can see where, like, the lines that I'm losing the audience or that I'm wasting, like I'm wasting time. Like, if I'm trying to set up a joke, I'm not trying to get to the joke as fast as possible, but you can't be wasting time. Like, if you go from 2 lines, if you use 3 lines instead of 2, that one line can make a big difference because now the crowd is even less in. Or sometimes you can go the wrong way and now you're going to take away from the punchline. Another thing that I've seen is when you've already done a punchline and you know it works, you don't try as hard. You kind of just go through it because you're just like, okay, I already know this works, so I'm just going to get this out of the way. This is my rest time on stage, and I'm trying to think about the next bit that I have trouble with. And this is the difference between it hitting the first time and it not working the third time. The first time you're all about it. You're like, oh my god, is this going to happen? Like, people can tell like you're genuinely talking about it. But then as you do it more and more, it almost like you're just going through the motions. You're just like, oh yeah, whatever, like this is the line, blah blah blah, you guys should laugh here, and I'm gonna work to the next thing. So keeping that energy of the first time you do a set to like the 4th, 5th, the 100th time, and this is kind of like relationships too, if you want to compare, if you want to think about it. Like the honeymoon phase, the first 6 months, anything you do is good, everything you do is great. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing. But then when you date for like a year, 2 years, 3 years, now like the things that were super fun, you kind of just doing it for the sake of doing it, and it doesn't have that same feeling, and you're like, well, I'm just doing this, like I've done this before, like why is it not working now? It's because you're not hitting it with the same energy, hitting it with the same passion, hitting it with the same creativity and spontaneity, to throw in some cheesy words in there. But that's why like you really gotta like just be excited to do what you're doing, treat it like professional, you know. Okay, so that is that is another thing, is doing more on topics, and I think this comes from just some kind of like insecurity in just, I'm new at stand-up. I'm trying to move through topics a lot because I'm scared if this topic doesn't hit, oh no, now I'm gonna lose the crowd. So I go boom, switch to the next one. Now the better you become at writing, the more you do stand-up, the more you understand, okay, is this hitting or is it the way I'm saying it, or should I just cut this out, or does this topic have more? And what I'm seeing a lot with just talking to a comedian friend of mine and seeing professionals is they don't just go topic to topic. They really try to like find as much good stuff that they can from this topic and then go into the next one. And this is why going up a lot is good, because then you get to try a lot of stuff out. And then when you have these videos, you know what lines work. So now you're kind of like adding tools to your arsenal. You're collecting arrows, you're collecting swords. And now I know, okay, now I can use this, and now I have this, now I have this, and now I know this doesn't work, now this doesn't work. So I think that the real long-term approach to stand-up is doing a topic, coming up with like, let's say like 5 to 10 to 15 different punchlines, trying all of them from time to time, and collecting data on, okay, this one is good, this one is good, this one is bad. This one goes with this one, that one goes with that one. And then I think when you watch Netflix specials, when you see people doing arenas or doing really big shows, they're hitting you with all their best lines. And that is through just like data collection, just like getting information, assessing, and then going back. And I think that's why when you see people doing Netflix specials or like really good comedians, they're hitting with fire because they've practiced all these lines again and again and again. And they know, okay, if I say this, you're going to laugh if I say it this way, because they've just done it so much. And now you're seeing the top of the top, because let's say they have 10 good punchlines, they have 5 great punchlines, and then it turns into 2 gold punchlines where you're just like, dude, I'm going to laugh at this no matter what. Like, this is the best of all the lines. So I think that is the progression, and that is something that I'm going to be working on. I definitely have been going more to open mics, trying to do, it started at 2 to 3, and now I'm trying to go 3 to 4 per week. And another thing about the open mics is some of them are getting pretty populated. Like when I first started, I was used to like 5-10 people, maybe 15. The one on Friday has like 40-50 people. The one on Monday has like 30-40 people. So getting used to having more people is something that you need to do. Like I almost got comfortable with the small crowds, so my energy would kind of match the small crowd energy. And then when I went up against, not against, it's not a chess game, but I went up in front of big crowds, I'm like, oh man, there's so many people, there's so many things. And now time is going by faster than before when it was slowing down because I was getting used to something. The adding the people speeds up the clock a lot, because now you have more people to look at, more reaction to kind of take in. You like when you're up there on stage, you are processing a lot of information. Like you are really trying to like I guess like man the ship, and it's I'm not gonna say it's a storm out there because I haven't been like heckled or booed off stage, but I mean you gotta be able to navigate the ship. And kind of going along with this is just energy on stage. The next two things I think are really good with this. Just looking bigger on stage is one. It's just like if you kind of look very small, if your arms are close by, if you are looking at the ground the whole time, yes, sometimes it works. And someone who does this really well is Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson is never out there like really swinging his arms and stuff. He's kind of almost like scrunched up, like talking to the ground, almost kind of nervous, but what he says is always like very creative, very confident. So I think part of it is kind of like the I guess the difference in body language versus the words he uses that adds to his bit. But for me, like a lot of my topics are kind of high energy topics, and if I stand there kind of looking sheepishly, looking at the ground, or like not making eye contact, that's the other big one I want to talk about, scanning the crowd. And I think when you say punchlines, you want to almost single someone out, not in like an accusatory way, but you're just talking to them. And that is something that I'm going to work on this week. Like for every punchline, I'm going to find someone, and hopefully someone that is like looking happy, not someone that is kind of zoning off or on their phone or doing something completely different. Like really honing it on someone and like delivering it to them. And if they pick it up, then boom, now everyone's picking it up. And that's a very important thing with stand-up is it doesn't want to sound robotic. It doesn't want to sound like you're just like regurgitating what you wrote, just spitting out what you wrote. You want to make it sound like a conversation. Because if you notice with human interaction, the funniest times in your life are very, very rarely you watching a stand-up show, you watching like some special. What normally is the funniest moments in your life is when you and your boys, when you and your friends are all hanging out, you're just saying random things. Like it's very genuine, it's very spontaneous. So that's kind of what you want to make it seem like on stage. Like you're having a conversation with the audience, not you're reciting poetry. Like that would be kind of the difference there. So yeah, that's what I'm going to work on this week. Kind of hitting them with the more sharp material and really trying to work on my stage presence. Like it's gotten a lot better, like a lot better. And one great side effect of that is I find in conversation, I'm being a better conversationalist. I was always good, and not to like brag or anything or to think that I'm some kind of great person, but I was always good at listening and kind of like really listening. Like when I am having a conversation with someone and it's something that I'm into, like I really like listen to them. Like this is the only thing in the world that matters. Like I'm thinking about your words, and I'll ask a lot of questions, and sometimes I will cut people off just because I'm really curious. Like I have a question, and something to combat that if you are known to cut people off is just saying like, excuse me, blah blah blah, or like real quick ask this question, and then sometimes they answer the question and they're not sure what to do after, and then you just go back to what they were saying. And people respect you a lot if you ask your thing, but then you tell them, hey, I remember you were saying something, I want to hear what you were saying. So just being very attentive, but also like now even in conversations, like eye contact, I'm being better. Not being confrontational, but like standing your ground. Like if someone says something and I don't know what they're saying, a lot of times I'd be like, okay, yeah, whatever, sure, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But now if I don't know what they're talking about, I'll just ask them like, wait, so what does that mean? Or like, wait, why do you say this? Or like, what do you mean by this? And I really think people respect that a lot because it shows that you really care what they're saying. Like if you're on your phone and someone's talking to you, like people are going to talk to you way different because they don't think you're listening. Or if you're kind of zoning out, or you just say, okay, cool, sure. And now, one thing I don't like is some people do just want a wall to talk to. They just want to tell you, they don't want you to listen to anything. And with all due respect, if you want me to listen, but not ask questions, but not say anything, or not be interested, don't talk to me. And I think people should respect that. Like, if you're not going to actually want my opinion or want me to listen, then why are you telling me this? Like, why are you, taking my time? So it goes both ways. You should be a good listener, but you should also be a good speaker, where if you can tell the person you're talking to is zoning out, is not interested, is giving you pushback or resistance, address it and in a respectful way. Like, why do you think this? Like, why is kind of the best question, and it really comes from chess. And I'm going on this probably longer than I should, but when you ask someone why, if they can't tell you why, you almost immediately lose respect for their opinion, because I mean you're just saying it with no backing. But if you tell someone why, now you have way more respect for your opinion, and now you have a real conversation, because that's when you can really get to know someone. We can really get into the details. Because I mean, small talk is small talk. Like, okay, there's some topics where small talk is okay, cool for a little bit, but at some point, if you're not really learning something, if you're not really connecting with someone, if you're not actually like learning about someone, I don't really like these conversations. I don't want to just like talk about kind of stupid stuff at a shallow level for a really long time. That just feels like I'm losing time, and I take my time very seriously, and I take people's lives, people's opinions, and people's thoughts very seriously, and I think that's the best way to do it. So I think that's enough on stand-up. Now let me get to jiu-jitsu and boxing. Alright, so for the jiu-jitsu and the boxing part of the podcast, I will be 100% transparent and honest with you guys. I did not do jiu-jitsu this past week. I am still kind of hurting from the Monday beatdown I had last week, and kind of the way I was going to think about it was I wanted to really watch YouTube and learn and put together a repertoire, and I think this is like really important, especially for jiu-jitsu. Boxing, and I will get to boxing, it is very possible too, but jiu-jitsu is going to make way more of a difference. So the best, or at least like one of the best resources to learn from is YouTube. There are so many videos out there. There's so many high-level people teaching you kind of just basic moves, and this works for chess, but I think it's better for jiu-jitsu just because it's a bigger community, and I think it's a little bit easier to understand some of the things. Now, watching something and doing it live while you're rolling are very, very different, but you can at least put together a repertoire. Put together like a list of, okay, if he's in full mount, I have this escape, and then I have worst case, I have this escape, and then you kind of rotate between those three. But if you write it down and you kind of know beforehand, okay, this is what I'm going to do in this position, or you go to class like, hey, I want to work on this, that's way better than floor rolling with some behemoth who's just going to throw you up in the air, catch you, lock you into a pretzel, and to quote myself, hey dude, I can't move. So definitely coming to class with things to think about, things to work on, I think makes class better, makes rolling better, and makes just the progression and the time that which it takes to get better shorter. So that is really what I'm going to be trying to do before class tomorrow. I want to just come up with a list of almost like chess openings, like against e4 I do this, against d4 I do this, and doing that with jiu-jitsu. So having like 3 or 4 choices for each position, and then just trying to practice them. And if I forget, I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to go during class, check my phone, and be like, okay, wait, so I want to do this, this, and this as well. So that's what I'm going to try to be doing jiu-jitsu this week. Knock on wood, I want to go all 5 days this week. I think I do have, like last week I did have a couple days where I was busy, so it wasn't, I could only do I think 3 days at best last week. But this week I have pretty much a pretty free week to get down and do what I got to do. So, I mean, no excuses, better than yesterday. That is the goal for this week. Now, I was talking about boxing, how it's not as good as jiu-jitsu, but in boxing, you can definitely write stuff down. Like, I think the best thing to do is have a couple combinations that you want to work on in being inside, have a couple counters you want to work on when they come to you, and writing that stuff down. And just like jiu-jitsu, having this written down and having this in your head before you go into sparring or drilling. And even when you're drilling, work these moves. Like, that makes so much sense. When you're hitting the bag, work these moves. And a great channel that I want to push is MMA Shredded. It's this guy, Jeff Chan. He's an MMA fighter. I think he's fought in 1 championship. And he does just great, just excellent videos with real-time footage of him sparring and using his combinations. And kind of going with this is head movement. I love good head movement. Like, I did a video on head movement in boxing to chess, comparing it to chess. And one really cool side story, and I talked about this in the YouTube video, is when Floyd Mayweather was maybe 28, 29, 30, he fought Canelo Alvarez when he's about 23. So Canelo was, at that time, still very, very up-and-coming boxer, prospect. Not even, like, prospect. Like, he was established. He was a known boxer, one of the good guys. One of the top dogs is a better way to put it. But he wasn't on the level of Floyd. And when he fought Floyd, you could see the discrepancy. Like, he just could not hit Floyd. Floyd was always moving. He would counter him well. Now, Canelo's super tough because I don't think Floyd was ever really close to knocking him out. Even though he was hitting him pretty clean, pretty well with counters, it was never enough to really just like put him down. Because I mean, boxers are tough. Boxers can take a punch. I mean, that is their job. But after the fight, they interviewed Canelo. Canelo was like, I just couldn't touch him. He was too fast. And the guy asked him like 3 or 4 times, kind of like mean questions, like, do you think he's the greatest? Like, why couldn't you hit him? What was the problem? And I mean, Canelo, respect to him, it was just like, he was a better fighter. He was smart. He was fast, and I couldn't touch him this time. And you see the growth in Canelo, because maybe like 8-10 years later, Canelo fights this guy, Danny Jacobs, and just puts on a masterclass in defense. His head movement was sick. His slips were sick. The guy couldn't touch him. And 100%, I'm sure he took this away from that Floyd Mayweather fight. You actually hear in one of the highlights, one of the commentators is like, man, he's using head movement. He must have learned that from Floyd when he fought him. And that goes to show, like, if you lose, learn from your opponent, especially when you go against someone better than you. Or, for example, even in stand-up, if you hear a comedian that's better than you, see what he's doing and try to break down, why is he better than me and what is he doing that makes him better than me? And then, how do I do this? How do I build my craft? Once again, how do I be better than yesterday? As long as you continue to try to be better than yesterday, you will get better. And this kind of goes with just kind of the footwork episode. But with boxing, you gotta be 1,000% dialed in. When someone is trying to hit you in the face, like, that is when you should be really focused in. And what people don't give boxers credit for is you have to be very smart and attentive to be a boxer. And I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but yes, to a level you can be physically stronger and faster, but at some point you're going to meet someone who's either just as strong and fast, or even worse, way more intelligent, and knows what you're going for before you even go for it. And this all comes from reading the body. Like, one tip I'll give you is, when you fight someone, you don't look into their eyes, you look at their chest. Wherever their eyes say, you don't really know where they're going to go. And a lot of times people try to fake you out with their eyes. But if you watch their chest, their hips, wherever their hips go, they're going to go. Their hips, I mean, in the words of Shakira, hips don't lie. So that's really what you want to watch, and really, really try to dial in the details. In Jiu Jitsu, it's a little bit easier because there's no striking, and a lot of Jiu Jitsu is really breaking down technique and hand placement and all these little details. In boxing, it's definitely, like, footwork is a big thing, and good technique is a big thing. It's just not stressed as much. Like, normally it's just like be big, fast, and strong, and just like throw hard. But I mean, I'm a little person. I'm not 6'3", 250 or 200, like some jacked muscle guy. And when I fight these big guys, like, I don't want to get hit. Getting hit for me is a financial decision. If I get hit enough, I will be in the hospital. Then I gotta pay hospital bills. Then I can't train. Then I can't work. So, and this is kind of one of the big things I love about boxing. Like, when you're boxing, I mean, you're not fighting for your life, but it's as close to a lot of people get in years. Like, I mean, in the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't really had life and death experiences. But when you fight, it kind of simulates that. Like, man, I don't want to get hit. It's not dying, but it's the next closest thing I have to dying. At least, like, in my life right now. Like, okay, maybe one day I become a secret agent, and then I'm almost dying every day or every week. But right now, I play chess, I do stand-up. Like, I'm not really threatened in those situations. But when I box, like, man, you better believe, like, I am dialed in. And that is a very good skill to learn. Because I will take this 1,000% dialed in, and now I'm trying to apply it to different fields. Like, when I play a chess tournament, man, I gotta be 1,000% dialed in. Like, last week I talked a lot about, like, how much during the game do you actually think about chess? And how much do you think about what happened last week? What happened with my ex-girlfriend? What happened with making rent the other week? Or what happened with, I wasted all this money this weekend? These things will come to your head. And if you can cut that out, if you can just focus on the game, imagine how more efficient and how better of a chess player you'd be. And I think that's a very nice skill that I've learned from boxing, and that I want to take to all my crafts. Like, when you're doing work, when you're studying, when you're doing puzzles, when you're playing blitz, if you want to be good, be 1,000% dialed in. You will see more. You will do better. I promise you. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about before I get into just like the wrap up of the podcast is what is the best build for fighting. And I already had this on my mind, and I think Joe Rogan was talking to Paul Felder. and they were talking about what is the best build, and I really believe this to be true. The tall, lanky guys. Because, okay, so for the tall, lanky guys, their biggest advantage is the reach. They can reach you when you can't reach them because they got these long, skinny arms. And kind of like the con of having these tall, lanky guys, at least like the misconception is they are not as strong. They don't hit as hard. But dude, when you have these like, I mean, they're not like skinny arms. They're just very defined arms. They're not huge, but they're defined. And when you can throw that thing like a whip, it can hurt even more than a big, strong muscle guy. Like when you fight a big, strong muscle guy, you kind of know if he hits you, it's gonna be hard. So you expect it coming. But when these tall, skinny guys that are in phenomenal shape, when they hit you, you're just like, oh my god, what? Why is this guy hitting so hard? It's not fair. Like you can reach me and you hit harder than me. Like what am I supposed to do? Now I think the weakness of this tall, lanky build is it's easier to take you down when I get on your hips. So if you shoot a double on the tall, lanky guy, if you really wrap around those hips, you have to be more aware of submissions because they can throw them up from larger ranges, but you are more dense. You can really like weigh on them. I think you can control them better too. So, and I mean, it kind of sucks for boxers. Like you don't have that option. You really got to play angles and have good footwork if you're gonna fight someone taller with arguably just as much power that you do. So that's why I think this tall, long build is kind of the best for a fighter. I am the exact opposite. I'm pretty short and stocky. So I don't really do any MMA training. Like I'll do Jiu Jitsu and I'll do boxing. So I don't really get to mix the two of like, okay, I box, but I can also shoot for a takedown. So for me, if I was going to fight one of these tall guys in boxing, it's really about movement. Really trying to catch angles. Get in, get out. Move, move, move. Circle, circle, circle. Circling is the way. I think that is, if you just stand there, you're going to get picked apart. Yeah, okay, you could try to counter here and there, but why wouldn't you try to counter and try to get offense when you're moving and cutting angles? That is definitely the way. And as a shorter, stockier fighter, I mean, okay, not even like a fighter, as an enthusiast, that is what I see from the best build, and why just size is such an advantage when it comes to fighting. Like it's just always easier being the taller, longer guy. Like I have to say. I mean, okay, if I become a black belt one day and I'm taking people down and throwing them in the air, yes, that'll be great. But for the first X years of my life, man, it's just suffering. It's just like, oh god, this guy's hitting me, he's hitting me, and I can't touch him. He's so far away. Yeah, jiu-jitsu is not so bad because once you get close, you have this good center of gravity, this dense mass. You can roll better, you can turn better, you can twist better. But as striking goes and even submission goes, like this tall build is kind of money in the bank, I will say. All right, so last thing I want to talk about is just this stuff that happened in life this week that don't really specifically fall into a category, though I probably could have put some of these in different categories. The first one I want to talk about is running. I'm back running. So for a long time, I get my cardio from doing kickboxing and boxing and jiu-jitsu, and I was just getting tired. I'm not gonna lie, like I would gas by the end of jiu-jitsu when we're rolling. So, I mean, I think boxing and kickboxing wise, I think my cardio always was okay, but just the hard rolling and jiu-jitsu, I would just be gassed. And something I have noticed, which is very interesting, is my top half always gasses faster than my bottom half. And as a child, I would always do curls for the girls and do all the workouts to look good: chest, abs, biceps, even triceps. And I think I'm kind of feeling it now, because that's where all the muscle in my body is, on the top half of my body, and that I think that's why I gas faster there. Now my legs are completely different. I have started working out legs this past week, but for the most part, my workout for legs is running for a long time, biking, kicking, never really big weight training. And I mean, not to toot my horn, but my cardio is pretty solid. So I have added working out my legs, but I've also just been running about 30 minutes a day. Not at a super fast pace. I think about like a 10-minute mile pace for 30 minutes. And then you put the music on, time goes by fast, no problem, it's great. I will start amping it up, but I do like these really long cardio sessions. It goes by so fast when you have the right music playing or the right podcast playing. And just building that cardio, also, it just gets you super cut up. Like, running is probably the best way to lose weight. Running and dieting. Like, dieting you might put at number one, and that's actually where my segue is going. but running is probably close to second. And I think it's very good for your mental health. Just like after a run, you just feel so good. You feel so good. Like you feel ready. You feel refreshed. You feel ready to go. So can't speak enough about how great I think running is. Am I going to be someone who runs 100 miles in one sitting? Hell no. Hell no. I understand cardio is important. At some point, maybe a marathon. But dude, I ain't going to run for 5 hours straight. That's too much. And I don't know. Like one day if an African village is chasing me, I'll be like, dang, I should have ran more. But until that day, I'm just gonna kind of be in shape and have good, I guess, cardio levels. Okay, so what kind of goes with this is cooking, and just kind of what I've been doing as a quote unquote cook. It's been really fun cooking different things for each week. Like if I try to remember correctly, the first week I had ground beef and I had chicken thighs. The second week, and then with vegetables and stuff. The second week I had just beef, and this time not chicken thighs, but I just cut up some chicken and cooked it with some chili powder, cayenne pepper, and all the good stuff. And then this week I'm trying to cook fish, and for vegetables, like I was really sticking to broccoli, cauliflower, and onions. Those are my big ones. And this week I'm adding carrots and beans. And honestly, like it turned out super good. Like the fish was delicious. It's light. I didn't cook spicy too. So on top of experimenting with the type of dish, I've also started experimenting with the spices. So like my go-to combination for cooking is chili powder, cayenne pepper, salt, and just kind of adding that to vegetables or meat or whatever. So this week I did minced garlic with cilantro. And I don't know why, but randomly this evening while I was teaching chess, I remembered that I love cilantro. I think it was because like I wanted to branch out, and I wasn't sure where to start with, like, what do I add next? I knew garlic was going to be the one, and then at some point cilantro kind of came to my head, and I was like, dude, cilantro and fish. I wanted to get some lime too. I can always get that, but I think lime, fish, cilantro, and garlic is a very nice combination. Like fish you want to make light. I could have made it spicy, but I've been eating super spicy like every single week. So I was really trying to vary it up, do something new, and also kind of experiment this week. Now, this funny story to how I ate fish tonight was I was so close to eating cookout. And actually, let me rewind the day before. So I was like, okay, one day a week I'm going to eat out. And I got this Hibachi Bowl. Dude, let me tell you about the Hibachi Bowl. Maybe my new favorite thing ever. So what it was they made fried rice, they had beef on top, they had shrimp on top, and they had chicken on top. So already here we have a great meal. Now they had roasted vegetables on the side. Amazing. Then they had a roasted corn on the cob, which really like rounded it out. I don't know why, like I've never thought about this, or I've never really like kind of put it down, but corn went so well with the rest of it. And my goal was to eat half of it on Saturday and eat half of it on Sunday. So I ate half of it for lunch on Saturday, and then I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever. So then I get to dinner, and I was gonna just have one meal, because I mean, let me tell you, they gave me a lot of food and I ate a lot of food. So I ate half of it for lunch on Saturday, and come dinner time I was like, dude, I need some more. So then I was gonna eat half of that remaining half, and then I was like, alright, I'm just gonna round it up, and I just ate the other half. So I had the whole Hibachi Bowl made for probably 3 or 4 people in one day. And then we have Sunday, which I was supposed to have half a Hibachi Bowl to eat, but I had none. So I started teaching early in the day, and then I kind of just teach continuous from like 10 in the morning to 9 p.m. Now I did have a lunch break, but honestly I think I ate so much on Saturday that I didn't get hungry on Sunday till 9 p.m. And that was when I was like, alright, I'm going to go get cookout. It's my second cheat meal for the week, and then I'm good to go. And then I was like, okay, it's Sunday. I have time. All I have to do this evening is do this podcast. And I was like, alright, fine. I won't eat cookout. Like, I've been getting in better shape. My body's been looking a lot better. I don't want to ruin that. And that is one good thing about getting in shape. Now you start thinking more about what you eat, because you have something to lose. Like, when you're out of shape, or when you're like just kind of in the middle, you're like, whatever. Like, if I eat, I look the same. If I work out, I'm gonna look the same. I mean, and I think I do have pretty good genetics where my body can like change very fast if I treat it well. Like, I can get fat very fast, but I can also get cut up and lean up and put on muscle super fast. So I didn't want to waste all the effort that I had put in this past week. And I knew I erased a lot on Saturday with the Hibachi Bowl. So I was like, all right, Sunday, I'm going to do it right. And I will just cook. And I'm glad I did. Food turned out super good. Now, one thing I might have to do is have bigger portions. Because I am kind of, I wouldn't say tearing through this super fast. I would say it lasts about a week so far. And the other thing is with this meal prep is not what I'm eating at lunch and dinner. So for lunch, I'm having a sandwich and soup. And what's kind of cool with that is you can also vary sandwiches and soups a lot. Like right now I'm going between broccoli and cheddar and beef chili. So both those soups are top of the line. And for sandwiches, I'm rotating between chicken salad and tuna salad. And probably this next week I'll buy some more. And then I have chicken salad, tuna salad, roast beef, and then I have like bologna or salami. So I can really rotate between all these. That way you're not getting dry or stagnant with what you're eating. You're mixing it up. Now, one more thing I want to add about sandwiches is the bread matters a lot. Like when I was younger, like a year ago or a couple months ago, I would get the giant bread, like the normal Kroger brand where they give you like 20 slices and it's like white bread. And yeah, your sandwiches are okay, but you can't, it's very hard to eat one of those. Now I get like these everything. It's not bagels, but it's like a loaf of bread. And now I'm having a full sandwich and eating with a bowl of soup. You're full for lunch. You're good to go. And then by dinner time, I come hit my cooked food, and that's a day right there. And it goes super smoothly, super well. I do think about if I had a girlfriend, I guess I would just like have to scale up a lot because I don't eat super, and I'm not gonna say like the girl I would date is gonna eat a lot, but definitely if you're cooking for 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, you're gonna have to scale a lot, which means the work does kind of get more. Maybe you can divide it up with your partner or the people you're cooking for. That could be a compromise, but it is something to keep in mind. Like right now it's super easy because I'm just cooking for myself, but with more people, it definitely becomes, not more complicated, but you just got to do other stuff. Now, kind of the last couple things that I want to talk about, and this is, I think, an excellent way to round out this podcast. Now, dealing with bullies, it's not like getting bullied or anything, but it's just like dealing with people who, like the first thing you see someone for the first time, and they try to point out something bad about you, like, your earring looks terrible, your hair is messy, why do you do this, hey, why do you do this? And sometimes it's family. Like growing up in an Indian family, I don't know, Indian aunties, like sisters, and my brother never said much, but they try to really like poke at your confidence. And like when I was younger, or like even like recently, I wouldn't know what to do. I would just be like, oh yeah, whatever is what I do. But I've seen recently, and maybe part of this is stand up, part of this is doing martial arts. I don't know which one to give most of the credit for, but just being like, no, this is what I like. This is what I believe. This is what I do. Or like, I like this, and maybe you don't. Or be like, why don't you like this? What about this do you not like? And at the end of it, if they really disagree, be like, okay, well, I respect your opinion, and you should respect mine because this is how I feel. And like one thing you see a lot, and I've seen this with some of my aunts, is like when they try to pick away at something of your character or something that happened, and you stand up for yourself, they always move out of the shot. They always move out of the scene. Like if you're zooming someone and they start attacking you, and you stand up for yourself, and you're like, why are you interrogating me? Like, I'm sorry, like leave me alone. Or like for like something like very recent that happened to me is like every time I have a family conversation with my family, it's always like it's like the first 5 minutes is an interrogation. It's like, what'd you do this? When did you do this? How is this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And then I like today I was like, if you guys are gonna interrogate me every single time I come on, like this is why I'm not gonna want to be on camera, or this is why I'm gonna find a reason to avoid these conversations. Every time I come up here, you're gonna interrogate me. So that is the first half. So and once I did that, you could definitely see a better reception. Dude, and this is the crazy part. You get apologies from women. Like I did not know this was a thing until I was 28 years old. But if you stand your ground and you say like, hey, like leave me alone, or like why are you doing this, they will actually say I'm sorry. And bullies too. Like this is not just like family, aunties, women, girlfriends, etc. This is just bullies in general. If you stand your ground, even if they know they can beat you up, as long as you try, as long as you keep it respectful. And a very big trap that you want to watch out for is never ever give them information or fuel for the fire, because if you do, they are going to forget everything else you said. You say one off comment, one disrespectful comment, they will hammer you and they will come at you with all fire and fury, and this is not what you want. Especially like if you're the kind of person that gets bullied, or the kind of person that bullies try to gravitate towards. If you make fun of them, that is the wrong approach. You need to respectfully stand your ground, question their argument, and question what they're doing. And even when you have the upper hand, like a lot of these people, and I don't want to be like mean or anything, but like generally if you're a bully, mentally, you are not functioning at the highest level. I would say you're functioning at a lower level, and I'm not going to go, it's not like I'm breaking the wheel here and saying that bullies are generally like mean people, not the smartest people, not the brightest people, so you don't want to be super mean with your words. You just want to address it in the most polite, respectful, not too polite where you're a pushover, just respectful. I would actually don't throw away the word polite, but the most respectful way possible. And stand your ground, stay calm, breathe, look normal, act normal, respond to questions normal, and you will see a huge change. And if at this point you do not see a big change, now it's like now you have to do something about it. This is where you learn how to fight, and you say, all right, man, if you're gonna keep saying this about my family, you're gonna keep saying this about my girlfriend, you're gonna keep saying this. Like for me, I don't have a big ego, so if you make fun of me, whatever, go for it. But if you make fun of my family, the girl I love, whatever, that's when I really you're gonna see like a different side of me, and that's when you have to be ready. Like, okay, put your hands up. Like if you're gonna keep talking like this, we're gonna have to fight. We're gonna have to do something. Like I can't just let you keep doing this again and again. And I would say like 99.9% of the time, it will not get to that. If you are respectful, if you say the right things, if you bring up good points, or if you just take it in stride, if you just brush it off, it doesn't bother you, generally it will not get confrontational. But every once in a while, you get a person, or it becomes something that you have to stand up for, and then you got to do what you got to do. Now, another thing that I've learned, how to stay in on the weekend and not go buck wild or do whatever, or like be like, oh yeah, dude, this weekend I'm going to party so hard. So I definitely had this phase in my life, and I could have kept having this phase in my life. But I think something that has changed a lot is now with me doing a lot of stuff, with me doing stand-up 3-4 nights a week, with me going out to the gym, doing Jiu Jitsu, with me hosting events like this chess club, or for me going to tournaments or talking to people or doing other things. Like, you don't have this like need to go out, this need to, I need to go see people on Saturday. I need to go do something on Friday. I need to go meet people because I've been sitting at home doing nothing all day. No, like weekend is almost like my time to relax. It's like, dude, I've been out every single day this week. Monday to this, Tuesday went to this, Wednesday to this, Thursday to this, Friday, Saturday. I have like, if someone wants to do something and I'm free, or like I finish all my work, okay, maybe. But on the flip side, like if nothing's happening, I'm completely fine just kind of chilling by myself, studying chess, reading a book, doing a podcast, watching videos, doing all this kind of fun stuff. So if you really you don't want to go out, but you feel every weekend like you just feel like you haven't done anything all week, you need to do something, you have this angst, this tension in your body that you need to get out of, do more stuff. Find hobbies, find things that you want to get better at. I promise you that you will have more fulfillment doing this than getting drunk on a weekend, hitting on some random girls, or getting out by some random guys, whoever's listening to this. Learning something, meeting people through this is just 1,000% a better way and a better just avenue to meeting people than getting drunk at a bar and getting so drunk that you find someone else who's also so drunk, and then that's the only way you can have a conversation. So really getting to know people, doing stuff, best way to go. And then to tie this all up, short term versus long term, have a plan for everything you do. You don't have to be like, okay, in 15 years I'm going to be Grandmaster, and if I don't do that, my life's over. But if you say in the next month I want to learn this opening, in the next month I want to get better at stage presence and just ad-libbing or doing improv, or let's say in the next month I want to have one move for full mount, side control, half guard, full guard, and for all these I want to have 2-3 moves, and I want to know what I'm doing, and I want to be able to do them well. If that's your goal, you're going to see way better results, more specific, tangible, attainable results where you know what you have to do, you know what you have to do it, and then it's just a matter of getting reps in. That is a million times better than short term being like, dude, I want to be this by this. Like really try to think long term. And I think I talked about this last episode, but Kobe Bryant was a master of this. He was an assassin. Like from a young age, he knew exactly what he was doing long term. Now, something that you can apply on top of all the other fields is other things in your life. Like let's say money, for example. For a long time, I was the kind of guy who would just always instantly deposit money in my bank account whenever I got paid, because I just didn't want to wait 3 days to get $200, $300, $60, $100, and then I would take $1.50 hit here, $2 hit here, $3 hit here. And I mean, for me, like since I have to move money a lot with students, like I go through a lot of transactions, and over the course of a week, I'm probably losing like $20 on transaction fees. So taking that long-term route, this is the better way to go. Now another thing, like relationships, like instead of thinking short-term, like man, I want a girlfriend in a week, maybe it's better to make friends with like 10 girls over like a 3-4 month time span, and then look for, I mean, another thing is like if you want a girlfriend, you want to act like you want a girlfriend. You want to actually care about, what do I think about this person? Do I really like spending time with this person? Does this person motivate me to be a better person? Do I like the qualities in this person? Because I'm learning like a lot as you get older. Like short term, great in the beginning, but now you got to deal with all these long term effects. Like you really got to be careful with who you hook up with, who you spend time talking to, who you are spending all your time with. If you're looking for a girlfriend, but you're talking to all the type of girls you would never date, you're not gonna find a girlfriend. Like newsflash, like crazy, right? But that's why I think like when you have a goal, when you have something in mind, make sure everything you do lines up with what you're trying to do, and really try to analyze it. Because when you start seeing like a lot of red flags or like a lot of big areas of dissonance where it's like I said this but I'm doing this, you want to almost circle that in red and be like, well, either I need to change my goal or I need to change what I'm doing because it's not lining up with my goal. So I think that's a very good analysis to have of your life and the decisions and the interactions that you do. And to tie it all up, and this is why I think that I have finally made some progress in just kind of every avenue of my life. Just be better than you were before. Be better than you were yesterday. Because if you have that goal in mind, it's more like, let me fix what happened or the problem, as opposed to I need to keep doing these things so I can be this good. When you just work on fixing the problems or growing certain small things, you're going to see tangible results. You're going to know exactly what's happening too, because you're going to see yourself fixing these mistakes or getting better at these things that you want to get better at. And then boom, now you're a samurai. Now you are good at all these different things. So in all these things for me, starting with chess, be better than I was yesterday. Teaching students, be better than I was yesterday. Doing stand-up comedy, be better than I was yesterday. Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, and then to cap it all, life. And that is what I get from all these different things. I am trying to become the best version of myself. The man that I want to be. I wrote this line like years ago, and I say it, I pray before my games. To be that man one day, I need to be that man today. Otherwise, tomorrow will always be yesterday. So I think it's the perfect way to end it. If you want tomorrow to be a different day, be that man today. Otherwise, every day tomorrow is going to be exactly like your day yesterday until you decide that today's the day. And another tip, and the last tip I'm going to give, do not push things off. You keep pushing things off, you are never going to be that man today. You will keep living yesterday again and again and again. So hope you guys enjoy this podcast. I thought I went through a lot of really fun stuff, a lot of good stuff, a lot of intellectual stuff, and hope you guys enjoy everything I'm going through. Hope it helps your life, and hope you're excited as I am to see just the growth in everything that's going on right now. So thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys are entertained, and I will see you guys later. Peace.